So Wayne, I think you had the first item there, number 4 in the agenda.
Yeah, so
yours, right?
nothing from previous discussions, nothing to demo at the current time, nothing for planning breakdown. No, I zipped right through those. Just before we call those, nothing to discuss today. Anything to discuss today? All right, so container 13.0 discussion, and this will probably make it so we can cancel the one later today if we cover this. So that's the link doc off there. So Cilium on-off toggle, Cilium volume metrics, and Cilium usage metrics. There's some discrepancies and on understanding of the priority and the how, et cetera. That Sam, want to lead us through this discussion? What would you rather I do?
Let's see here. So for the on-off toggle from Arthur, from my understanding, UI is not ready, and there's some unresolved discussions regarding new direction access for core users. So I think that all has been resolved in the issue. The mocks are finalized. Those are posted in the issue description. And the consensus was that we were just going to make this in Ultimate only for now, as it would still be available. The feature is still available, like the underlying mod security or Cilium technology is still there for core, or at least mod security. Cilium is still reserved for Ultimate. But moving forward, we're just kind of separating the UI. We felt like at least near term it was okay to put the UI in there. And we can cross that bridge when and if things end up moving down to core. Maybe they just don't get the UI to go with it, even though they may get access to Cilium.
And it looks like all front end work, if not all front end work. And Lindsay is looking like she's going to have Daniel take ownership of that, the front end side, starting next week. He's on vacation this week, and he's going to coordinate with Arthur. And Sam is new, and that's good. There's a good bit of time zone overlap between Daniel and Arthur.
I couldn't read through the issue yet, but just a quick technical question. Once we put this on in the UI, do we lose the ability to do it through the YAML file?
No, actually, we're adding UI, and then that UI. So I can share my screen real quick too.
So the UI will do a commit and change the project? Oh.
So for this, we're really trying to tackle this in an iterative manner. So this first pass is almost exclusively just UI work, with one exception that I'll call out here in a minute. So right now, it'll be adding this whole new monitor and response section. For mod security WAF, we already have that today. It's just in a different place in the UI. It's under the managed apps page. And this manage button will take you to the operations Kubernetes managed apps page where Zamir did the work to add that into the UI. So that'll just take you to a new page right now. Then it'll show you the current status, enabled or disabled. And then for container network policies, this manage button will just take you out to the documentation. So functionality-wise, the way you would turn it on or off, nothing has actually changed there. We're just adding some UI to make it discoverable. The one piece of back-end work that would be involved is adding the ability to show whether or not it's installed, enabled, or disabled here under status.
Cool, which is just reading the configuration file. Thanks for that.
Right, so we really tried to make this just an absolute minimal change. And one of the big benefits to the customer of getting it here in the UI is it makes it more discoverable. So if they're already here working in the security page, if they've been working with some of the SAST or DAST or some of the other technologies from Secure, it's going to show up on that same page where they're already working. So it's going to help it to be a lot more discoverable by our target audience.
Makes sense to me.
Good questions, definitely. Arthur, are you good with all that we said today on this one?
Yeah.
Awesome. So next one, I remember the details on the next one. So record Cilium processing volume metrics. To summarize, there's should we do this work? when other work would be more impactful to customers. And maybe we should do that. We should do both, but other work actually would be impactful to customers. This would not be that, and we may want that first, but we kind of did a couple passes on this and decided, since this is useful, but will be more useful in the future, and is a key priority from Sam's because it's one of our quote unquote North Star metrics, which is a big priority for product management. In a perfect world, we wouldn't have chosen to do this one first, the record Cilium process volume usage metrics, but it does make sense based all things considered. And I think, Arthur, when you and I discussed, we landed on acknowledging your concerns, but you're okay with doing this at the current time. And I think you've started on it, you're planning to start on it soon. Is that all accurate? Is that a good summary? And is that accurate?
I have a couple of remarks already submitted.
Say again, Arthur, I didn't hear you.
I have a couple of remarks already submitted.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, we do want to do this one, as you noted, Wayne. I mean, this actually tracks all the way up to an OKR to start measuring those North Star metrics, and this issue is the one that's contributing to the North Star metric. So this one will align with an OKR for Q2.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Arthur. And Sam, I know a bit about the North Star metrics, but for the rest of this group, it's probably just a term. Like, my understanding is that North Star metrics, there's one metric to show, it's the, I'm going to do a Lord of the Rings reference in a minute, but I'm going to stop myself. It's the one metric to show the value that
we're all thinking it.
Yeah, to provide value to that shows how much value we're providing across the customer base, and we want exactly one North Star metric per feature set, such as network, container network analytics, WAF is a separate one, behavior analytics is a separate one, and this is used for many things, including determining. My understanding is the more customers use something, and the more, which is not a measure of how interested they are in it, but the more that are using it, plus how many are interested in it, which is a different thing, impacts funding, like how many people we get on a team. And that's one of the reasons that this is really important. Is that accurate? And if not, correct me, and what other context do you have on it?
So I don't know how it all ties back to funding at the end of the day. So I'm not sure I can confirm or deny that statement, but I can confirm the importance. I mean, right now we don't have any metrics at all on usage of our container network policies or Cilium feature. So getting something in place is highly important. And the most important is the one that aligns to our North Star, which sort of feeds into number 3 here, which is blocked. I mean, that's why we split the two apart, was because they each had different dependencies. And so if you remember, these originally were just one issue.
Make sure we're on the same page. The Cilium state usage metrics, not number of packets processed, but on or off. That one's blocked by some work that another team is working on and is pretty close on, but didn't make 12.10. And I think, so if that gets unblocked, we'll look at this one. Or when that one gets unblocked, we'll look at this one. And is that accurate?
Yeah, exactly. So we split those into two for that purpose because they had different dependencies.
Yep. And also it helps us break it up into more iteratively workable items.
Yeah, I had a quick look at the MRs that Arthur sent. I think you chose a good a good breakdown to from what I understand, you're doing the database first, Arthur, and the red is keys where you're gonna store that. Given our experience with merge requests for database changes, that's probably a good idea. But then,
sorry, are we still talking about on-off metric? Or
the merge requests about the volume usage metrics, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But that's still, sorry, go on.
It's not database right metrics, because there will be no database changes. But I still decided to split into small pieces because they are unrelated and it will be easy to merge that way.
Mm-hmm. The thing that you haven't touched on that I'm curious about is the worker to do that the collection in the background.
I have it already, kind of.
All right.
Yeah, prototype.
Oh,
So,
awesome. I'll catch up with you outside of this. I don't have to hold up the meeting.
okay.
Nice one.
Oh, we've got time. If you think it's something others might be interested in, you don't need to break it up to a separate discussion unless you really want to.
Oh, cool. So what is it looking like, Arthur?
Um,
How are you feeling about it?
I already mentioned multiple times before. It's not like
No, I mean the technical solution, not
yeah.
the
That's
priority.
what I'm talking about. That not new work. And while we rarely use schedulable workers, we still have access to the Sidekick cron. The easiest way to get familiar with that is to go and check document in the handbook that's called Sidekick Best Practices or Style Guide, I think. It covers a lot of stuff that I'm working on right now. From the caveats of the election North Star metrics. There are some problems, but those we won't be able to solve. So there will be edge cases like workers naturally can crash, and there is a chance that it will cause some issues with workers or with metrics, but unfortunately we can't really solve that by the nature of the processes. So yeah, I took all the measures to minimize the impact, but yeah, it's a bit hard to provide all the context because yeah, that's document I will put the link somewhere in the today's call. But yeah, it's basically based on already existing solutions. But
Awesome.
those
Yeah, I'm
things
curious. I'm
are
curious
not.
because not knowing the background and what already is in place, I had a good feeling that we could stumble on that. It sounds
Yeah,
like
what I was writing that using Sidekick Walker to increment the counter is highly unusual, and there is caveat with that because again, this worker is crashed and we already incremented a counter.
right.
Worker will be restarted
We increment again.
and it will increment again. Unfortunately, there is no good solution for that. There is a slight chance. I try to minimize the impact of that by only incrementing the ZOA separation at the end and doing it atomically in Redis, but there is still a chance that. So this thing is called identity.
I don't think it needs to be exact, right, Sam? What I'm hearing from Arthur is that you could be off by a small percentage.
Yeah,
It might be not a small percentage.
Okay.
My design right now, and I don't know if everyone agrees, is run this worker once a week on the weekend and go ask all clusters, what did you get within this week? Because just to minimize impact on the cluster, especially on GitLab.com, I'm thinking about doing it once a week. So we will be incrementing counted by week values, if it makes sense. It doesn't have to be plotted on the graph in week increments. It can be plotted differently, I think. But increment will be weekly, just to minimize.
yeah, that's reasonable. I'm okay with it being incremented weekly.
Yeah, so I don't want to scare anyone, but there is a really, really low chance naturally from the way we're implementing it that there will be a bit of.
No, it's good. That's the reason I'm asking. So that's good to hear. Well, at least now we know what to expect a little bit more.
Okay.
Awesome. So that covers those three, just to make sure a group of us are on the same page, which it sounds like we were mostly there, but maybe not completely there on those three items. I know, Arthur, as well, is the thing that you believed we should be working on with a higher priority was the ability, among a number of things, including, first, the ability for the user to set policies in Cilium. And Sam has started a high-level issue for that, although I think, Sam, the issue you linked here is across all modules, not Cilium specific, which is okay, of course. So
let me clarify that a little bit, if that's okay. We do want to have our policy, think of policy management in a technology agnostic way. You know, the way I explained it to Andy was, you know, the last thing we would want to do is go build a policy editor for mod security, and then go build a policy editor for Cilium, and then go build a policy editor for, you know, the other 2 or 3 technologies that we may end up embedding down the road. You know, it's not natural for customers to think of, you know, 5 different point product technologies when they're using GitLab to secure everything. We should be able to unify those and bring it together and abstract that a little bit from the end user. So
Knowing
the thinking is to build.
They're 3 very different things. So they're going to have very different types of things in those policies to be managed. That doesn't mean they can't be in one integrated and easy to understand and use UI, but they are very different. They need very different things.
No, I fully understand that. So just to clarify, the idea is in the UI to abstract that from the user. Now, obviously, there's going to need to be a translation there where you're actually applying a mod security or a Cilium policy at the end of the day. And so the initial phase, again, trying to keep this iterative, the first phase of this will be for it to work with Cilium policies. So it won't work with mod security policies, or it won't work with other policies initially, but it's really more of a design challenge. It's on, you know, Andy to figure out how can we make it feel like I'm using a GitLab policy manager rather than, oh, I'm, you know, writing a Cilium specific policy, if that makes sense. I agree, there are different types, and Andy's going to need to account for that in the UI, but starting with Cilium and starting with policy packs. So again, keeping the management a little bit higher level just so that we can get something out the door and iterate from there where, you know, it's just a minimal, you know, initial effort to put out some kind of policy management UI without having everything there.
What you just said there in the end, I think is going to be crucial because of that risk that these things look very different, and we don't know a lot about what user is expecting and how they plan to use that in the GitLab context. I think it's really important to put something out there as soon as possible and get that feedback and adjust the course. If that's the plan, that's awesome. I'm on board.
It is, and Andy is also going to be doing a solution validation effort, which, you know, that's both problem validation and solution validation. These are rather large efforts. They take like 2 or 3 months to get everything through that process, but it involves, you know, interviewing several different customers and non-customers who meet your target profile and getting feedback from them and collecting it all together, synthesizing it, pulling out the results and adjusting based on the feedback. So that's going to happen in parallel, but I don't want us to wait until, you know, that's perfectly done before we start work on it.
Was that the call out that you put on the chat the other day? I sent you someone that agreed to be interviewed from my network, or is that a different?
That was the problem validation that I did recently on container security, so that was different.
Okay, cool.
So that sounds consistent. Basis, we need a policy management UI. It needs to take into account the 3 components, at least the 2 we have already to start, Cilium and mod security, with a priority first on Cilium, because without the ability to manage the policies in Cilium doesn't provide much value, you know, it just accepts all packets. And that sounds consistent, Arthur, with what you believe should be a priority soon, is an ability to manage the policies for Cilium. Is that characterizing that correctly?
I don't think that I want to word that I want to priority. It was more than I felt like we are lacking in the department and we could improve up there. I'm not saying that we have to work on that in any way.
No, but it's important to you because you believe it's important to customers, is what I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do believe so. But there are, like in your group, we have so many things uncovered in Kubernetes security field, so it's not for me to say which one is more important right now.
Okay. Okay. And I think that covers all the things that we wanted to cover today. This has
Yeah,
been
so if I
the,
can just speak to number 5 for a minute there. I know we kind of jumped down to 5B, but I just wanted to talk for a minute on 5 overall. So I just wanted to make sure, you know, I've got full transparency here and the group understands where we're going broadly for 13.1. So, you know, overall, we definitely want to continue our work in container behavior analytics. I do not have issues for that because I want to guide our direction there based off of the outcome of the WASO research and prototyping that's going on right now. So we'll wait for some more results to come in there before we decide concretely what our next steps will be. The policy management UI we talked about. And then lastly, there's going to be a handful of issues that I'm hoping are just very, very, very small things like I've created one issue already, but correcting the wording of some of the labels in our UI. So, you know, things that should just be super easy, small, easy to knock out, but just we've got a handful of different cleanup tasks that have been piling up, and I'm hoping we can tackle those in 13.1 as well.
So I know we spent most of our time talking about policy stuff and Cilium related stuff, which is great because those are priorities. Zamir and Alan, anything that to share on, probably good since I think we spent the last 2 meetings talking about those 2 items as well. Maybe a 1 or 2 minute overview of what you guys have done recently and what you're planning to do next, just for the group. So we all can read the issues, of course, but I think it'd be good to hear it occasionally as well.
So no updates for me since our last meeting. I'm still trying to figure out the way to install agent as a part of container, try to write some kind of automated script to do it. But I've been working some other things, so I just waiting with this one. Probably I'll do something tomorrow on that one.
And the WAF statistics work was completed, is nearly complete.
So in terms of web statistics, yeah, I have a ping pong with database team. I'm working on some improvements, and yeah, I did like large improvements, but then they said that some column will be soon removed, so I have to rework it a little bit. So yeah.
So in process and on target for 13.0.
Yeah, I believe in terms of more advanced web statistics, I'll have similar issues as Arthur has because of we need to get some statistics from Elasticsearch. We cannot do that in one query. We have to ask every single Elasticsearch cluster to provide us some statistics. So I believe I'll rely on Arthur work in terms of working with Sidekick and getting all of that. Because maybe we could combine those together. We'll see.
Cool. Zamir?
From my side, since Friday, I have been cleaning up the MRs related to the Cilium log on the FluentD stuff. So there's just 2 MRs left over there. All the MRs were merged. So we are on track for 13.0. I just want to clean up this and get it merged as soon as possible, so then I can focus on the WASO thing. For the WASO, I still need more digging to do before being able to say anything else. But I had some progress over there, especially, I think it's very similar to Alan, is the server, it's a little bit easier to set up than the agent. So yeah, I just need a little bit more time for that.
I mean, if you want to catch up, I've done WASA deployments before. So if you want to bounce anything off me, just hit me up.
Sure, thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Zamir. I think we've covered everything and more.
I got to drop
Thanks,
off
everyone.
for another call. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.
Cheers.
Have a nice one. Bye.